can you blame him? No one wants to hit that guy in the third and fourth quarter after he's run into you over and over and over. That stuff starts to hurt. It's not just punishing for an offensive player to get hit. With a guy like that running the ball, you're getting it on the defensive side too. So it'll be interesting to see how he wears them down and if they can continue to come up and hit him late in the game.
Derry, when you talk about record-setting performances, it's been a record-setting season for Raymond Caldera, and he can continue to climb up the Ventura County career rushing and touchdown charts.
Yeah, he's already set Oxnard high career records for both rushing and
really impressive in and
touchdowns.
Of itself,
yeah. Yep, and he can move into I think it's 8th place by getting 116 yards rushing, and then he needs 2 touchdowns to pass Matt Lee, who you know very well, St. Bonaventure, into number 8th place on the all-time county list in that category as well.
Safe to say he's not going to catch up to Whitney Lewis, though. I think we take a dynamic postseason. He needs another, 13 touchdowns to catch Whitney, who is next beyond Matt Lee on the career TD list.
Well, then that would pretty much require them to go to the championship if that's going to be a possibility. If Oxnard can make it to the CIF championship, that could be a real possibility because we know how important he is to the offense. We know he's going to get his touches, especially once they get down in the red zone. So it's unlikely, but again, if this team plays to what they're capable of doing, it's possible that he could be in striking distance if they're able to play for a CIF championship. So it'll be interesting to see.
One thing we knew about this team is that they were going to get better and better in each phase of the season, and I think the unique thing about the games that we have covered Oxnard in is that they have been covered by VCS Preps on the game of the week in the first game of the season, in the first game of the league season, and in the first game now of the postseason. So, Derry, I'm expecting to see a far different team than we saw in the last 2 games. And that was the case in the opening of the league campaign. They were a different team than the team that lost to Westland.
Well, a lot has to go with the development of the quarterback, Dalton Pagano. He has really come on. He's got a lot better understanding of John Mack's passing game, the visualization, the seeing of the field. That's gotten better as the season's gone on. He's got a lot more confidence, to stand back into the pocket and not have that first instinct to run, and it has made a tremendous difference.
Adrian Rios set to kick away. Oxnard and Oak Park in the opening round of the Western Division, the CIF Southern Section 2015 Ford Football Championships. The ball returned to the 15, right at the 20-yard line as the Yellow Jackets take the field defensively in cardinal and gold. Oak Park, white uniforms, black pants, and pretty much invisible numbers, the gold with the black trim. Those are difficult to see. I don't know. How are your eyes, Lorenzo? I'm struggling.
You're loving that. Yeah. Ventura and Oak Park, they've got something going on.
Obviously, the storyline for Oak Park, the transfer David Schmucker, who is on his 4th school, if I'm not mistaken, 6'4", 195-pounder, but he is a talented young quarterback. 17 touchdowns, 6 INTs on the year.
It's Frank Kaminsky.
And he will hand off to Kaminsky. So that was one of the big stories, obviously, Darius. Who's going to start at running back up front? Will it be Jordan Vega, who had 753 yards in the first 8 games, or will it be Kaminsky, the captain from Chicago, who had 247 in the last 3 games? It looks like Kaminsky thus far.
Well, we saw Vega warming up more as a kind of a pass receiver than as a running back. So it'll be interesting to see how Oak Park gets him into the offense.
2nd and 9, Oak Park will work with 3 wide receivers to the far side, and it is another give to Kaminsky, and he gets about 5 yards. Lorenzo, talk to us about what it's like to be banged up at the running back position.
Well, it's tough, because at the end of the day, you have to have a running game. No team wins it without a running game unless you got Tom Brady, and there's only one of those guys.
Right. And he can't do that against every team.
Exactly. So they still find ways to nickel and dime it down the field. But when you're banged up at the running back position, it really puts a tough job, a strain on the offensive coordinator, because the run game, again, if you're going to win the big games, you're going to have to be able to run the ball, especially in the postseason, to keep defenses honest and to move the chains. And
if you're an underdog like Oak Park, you really want to establish that run, to shorten the clock and give yourself the best chance to win.
First mistake of the night goes to Oak Park from the Yellow Jackets. Encroachment, if I'm not mistaken, and Oak Park has an automatic first down. Saw a lot of penalties from Oxnard in the opening game of the season, and a really big one here to get things off and running.
Oak Park's going to need that. They're going to need a little bit of help, and then they're going to need to capitalize on those opportunities when they get them. When Oxnard makes mistakes, make them pay for it.
Schmucker will keep it on his own. He gets to the 40, cuts to the left side. He's beyond midfield. The 6'4" quarterback down to the 20 and taken down at the 15-yard line. Kid's got some wheels. I didn't have that in the scouting report.
Well, first he fooled me. I'm sitting here looking at the running back. Thank God I don't have a camera in my hand. We might have missed it. But great decision. You saw them run the ball 3 times in a row. They all went for the running back there. He pulled it and really got those knees up, didn't he? I'm wondering if anybody else is as fast as he is on the field.
I'm surprised they were able to catch him. A nice run by Schmucker.
51 yards.
51-yard run from the quarterback who took Paraclete to the Mid-Valley Final a year ago. 1st and 10 from the 15. So Oak Park looking to capitalize on that Oxnard penalty on 3rd down and 4. And this time Schmucker will hand it off on 1st down. And Oxnard does a nice job controlling the line of scrimmage there.
A quarterback able to run when you're running this type of offense is key. Because what it does for the defense is you can't just key on the running back. When you know that the quarterback can not only just run but go to the house on you, just like he just displayed, that takes someone out of the box for Oxnard each time they do it. And it gives Oak Park an extra blocker to get on somebody else.
61 carries, 465 yards, and 9 touchdowns for Schmucker, who will throw toward the corner on 2nd down. He just overshot his target there.
The DBs for Oxnard are going to have to stay disciplined if this run game for Oak Park is working like that. You can just see it. They already lulled them to sleep by giving the dive to the running back 3 times in a row, and then the quarterback keeps it and runs 51. I can see them keep doing this over and over, running the ball. You get the secondary defenders worried about stopping the run, and then next thing you know, play action over the top, big play for Oak Park. So let's see how long Oxnard's defensive backs can stay disciplined while this run game like that is working.
James Marlborough, Simon Ponce in the defensive secondary. Schmucker now forced to try and get out of the pocket, but before he could even take a step toward the line of scrimmage, he was sacked by number 45, Daniel Vasio Pena, and for DVP, that's his 12th sack on the year.
That's a huge play right there. That's exactly what you're going to have. If you're going to play soft like that, Coach Mack hasn't blitzed anybody just yet, so you're going to have to get pressure with your front 4. Anytime you can get pressure with your front 4, good things are going to happen no matter what, especially when you're trying to stop the run. Nice job by the defensive line there getting pressure.
Looks like Oak Park will go for it. 4th down and 11. We haven't really seen Schmucker throw but once on this opening drive. Just beyond 3 minutes in. Schmucker
likes to go to Reese Smith.
Dragging across the field. Now he'll try to escape. Gets to the 10-yard line. Tries to push forward for the 1st down. He ends up a few yards short. And the Oxnard Yellow Jackets will take over. A nice stand on 4th down.
I like the attitude. Tried to finish the run. Didn't want to go quietly. But I certainly would have liked to see them walk away with some points. If you're Oak Park, you're trying to get your confidence up early. A lot like Brandon was trying to do last week against Ventura. So, it was a great drive, but to walk away with nothing after those kind of plays, being able to just march the ball up the field. Great job by Oxnard, but Oak Park is going to have to finish.
And they seem to have a pretty good kicker. He's got 3 field goals this season.
Yeah, 3 of 5 on the year. Khalil Zadeh. Here's a run right side for Raymond Caldera. And just like that, better and better as the game goes.
Although the ball's not heavy, ladies and gentlemen, that is extremely hard to do, to carry the ball that many times and yet not miss a game. Hasn't missed a game.
He's done it 4 times this year, and here is his 2nd carry. So how is this offense different? Let's remember Oxnard did win their opening playoff game a year ago. They struggled to do so, even though it was their 12th playoff appearance. This is their 12th in 16 years, a lengthy playoff losing streak prior to that. How is this offense different now a year later in the postseason?
Well, they can throw the ball for more than 20 yards a game.
I really set you up.
Oh, I mean, listen, this is why you brought John here. Beckham's teams were always tough. They always made the postseason, but their inability to be balanced is what ended up killing them in the postseason when it came to playing teams that were well coached and just as talented as them. With John here, and again, Dalton Pagano, making great strides, throwing the ball 3-4 times a game under him, now throwing the ball 24, 25 times a game. That should be the X factor for them to go deeper in the playoffs than they're normally accustomed to.
Yeah, and in terms of touchdown interception, 13-7, it's a better figure. And according to Coach Mac, Pagano's just getting better and better by the game, as you can imagine.
He really is, and it's so tough for a quarterback who is learning a new system, period, even if he is used to throwing the ball to just up and just start playing great, let alone a guy who's not used to throwing the ball and then learning a new system too. So, big ups to that guy for being as mentally tough as he is, and you can really see what he means to the offense, especially last week against Pacifica. Threw 3 touchdowns to 3 different receivers. I think 3 different receivers caught touchdowns in Beckham's entire career while he was here. So, it'll be interesting to see if he has the mental toughness of some of the other quarterbacks in the county when it comes to the big games and having to make big plays here in the playoffs.
That pass complete to Blake Kilgore. Here's Caldera. And Caldera works his way towards the first down. And obviously, a disclaimer, I think you and I both are big fans of Mark Beckham and what he did for the Oxnard program, really bringing the program to prominence. So not to belittle Coach Beckham. And Deuce, you had a great relationship with Coach Beckham. He did great things here over the years. But obviously, Coach Beckham retired, and they're on to a new approach.
Yes, I had a lot of respect for what he did, not only in the field but in the classroom. He really changed the attitude of this program.
Here is an inside handoff to Caldera, works his way beyond midfield. Another first down.
Oak Park is running a cover 0, and what that means is you have no safeties. So essentially they're running man coverage on the outside with no safeties. That gives them 9 guys in the box to try to stop Raymond, and they still haven't done it yet. So, great job first of all, by Oxnard offensive line. Great job by Ray, able to be patient and pick his holes and hit them. But I'm looking for a play action for them to go up top here pretty soon if they continue to do this. I mean, look, you've got 9 guys within 6 yards of the ball.
They'll go to Caldera again. The play action is surely forthcoming. Adrian Vasquez, by the way, number 1, is the wide receiver split to the far side of the field, more than likely again on this play. And Alex Sardi set to the near side. If they maintain a similar formation, we may be calling their numbers if Oak Park continues to not provide any safety help for their corners.
Yeah, that's for sure. And if anytime you're going 9 guys in the box, you have to get stops. You have to get pressure one way or another with the defensive line and have the linebackers come downhill and make tackles. And they're going to need 2-3 guys to wrap up Raymond. I mean, I'm just telling you that right now. So if 9 guys aren't doing it, they're in for a long night.
End around to Sardi, who worked his way from the slot position. A penalty flag down right at the line of scrimmage. Just a nice run by Sardi. He picks up 6 yards, but you have to think that this is coming back for a holding penalty.
Especially with the ball going on the edge. Usually that's what happens. A blocker is he doesn't have the best angle on his defensive player and tries to get a little tug there, and that's exactly what it was. They lose 10 yards.
Oak Park will take it. It was interesting to see Oxnard come out there with a different offensive set. 4 wide for the first time. I think they were really starting to test how stubborn Oak Park is planning to be, obviously, with that 0 help over the top.
I think so. But, I got to say, if I'm Oak Park, I'm going to try my best to make Dalton Pagano beat me. There's no way that I'm going to let Raymond have a 7, 8, or even 8-man box. You need 2-3 guys to tackle him minimum. And they all need to get there at the same time if they're going to have a chance to bring him down. So it's not so much that I don't think what they're doing is, is not smart. It's just, you're really putting yourself out there if your corners aren't in perfect position.
That last play just took too long to develop. Gave a chance for the defense to really get into the backfield and get to the ankles of Caldera.
That holding penalty really hurt him. 3rd and 20 as opposed to a 3rd and 2.
Here's Pagano on 3rd down and long. Stretching the field, has Kilgore. And it's in and out of the hands of Kilgore.
Tough catch. You have the linebacker just get he might have tipped it, but either way, that's a really tough catch to try to focus on that ball and bring it in. But nice throw by Dalton Pagano. It still was a catchable ball. It was a tough throw by him. It would have been a tough catch by the tight end there. But same thing with Oxnard. They got something going and just didn't finish. See if Oak Park can do something about that.
Yeah, for Oak
offensively
Park,
now.
that's a big stop, especially with the way Oxnard ran the football on first down.
Tyler Glassman is back.
Pagano, he might just run with this. Well, he decides to punt it, and he punts it about 10 yards. It's always interesting when your quarterback's the punter, but no one was really paying attention to what he was doing. He might have been able to run to the near side of the field for close to a first down.
I agree. Everybody was downfield, and if he didn't get it, he certainly would have got close, and it would have been as good as the punt that just sailed out of bounds just now. I really thought he should have taken off. I think the special teams coach will probably tell him the same thing. You get that much space, take it. It's not your average quarterback back there running the ball.
There are games going on all around the county, and we will bring you up to speed on everything that is taking place. We're also going to try to keep you posted, fans of these two teams, on the Redondo Union West Torrance game, as Oak Park would host the winner, whereas Oxnard would travel to the winner in the Western Division quarterfinals. Was that a holding penalty?
Face mask.
Or was it a face mask? That's a face mask. And Oak Park will be the beneficiary of another Oxnard penalty. There was something about that encroachment call on 3rd down and 4 that obviously really kick-started the drive.
That's for sure. And, again, here you have penalties for Oxnard and Oak Park. Again, you have to take advantage of this kind of stuff. It's 1st and 5. Run the ball. You've got an easy opportunity here to move the chains and try to get something going again.
Although,
looks like they gave it right back.
yeah, exactly. So it'll be. I think we're looking at a 1st and 9.
I think John really believes that he has the upper hand up front because he's a pretty aggressive defensive play caller, and for him to not even have his linebackers within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, he must really feel like he can dominate their offensive line with just 4 guys. And I've watched them. They've gotten pressure at times, and they certainly seem to have the size advantage. But, again, uncharacteristic usually of John, his linebackers are a lot more aggressive, but they're just sitting back there, so he clearly feels like he has the advantage up front.
Yeah, just bringing 4 again as that pass is complete on 1st down. Good right up to midfield, so 2nd and short on the way for the Oak Park Eagles. That was complete to number 23, Michael Hewitt, who has 3 picks on the defensive side of the ball, the sophomore.
It seems to me that both of these teams, if they get in the 3rd and 10 or more, are going to be out of their comfort zone. Even though Oak Park is in the spread, you can still clearly see that they would rather run the ball. And when you have 2 running backs that are as capable as they are, plus the quarterback who seems to be the home run hitter back there, I completely understand. But at the end of the day, if that's what it's going to be, if what you prefer is to be in 3rd and short, then penalties are going to kill you. So you've got to make sure that you don't have those self-imposed penalties and put yourself in bad situations.
2-yard gain. And 3rd and 2 on the way. I have to say, with how Oxnard runs the football and is so committed to controlling games, Oak Park's done a nice job controlling at least some of the clock, running the ball when they have the football. They aren't being played out of this game, let's put it that way.
Not at all. Not at all. That last stop by their defense was huge. It looked like from the start of it that Oxnard was just going to march the ball right up the field. I mean, when you got 9 in the box and you can't stop Ray from getting 5, 6, 7 yards a clip, that's not good.
Well, Oxnard hurt itself with that big holding penalty.
Schmucker rolling out on 3rd down, completes the pass, it looked like, to Jacob Lund, but Lund couldn't hang on to it. Lund, one of the senior leaders, junior, played quarterback as a sophomore because of all the injuries to the team. There were so many injuries last year. It was just Murphy's Law for Oak Park a season ago. They started 6-0 this year. I think the big win, 13-3 win over Nordhoff in the 2nd game is what really.
Boy, they're just going to go for it in 4th down all the time, aren't they?
4th down and 2. We're all a bit surprised by this.
Especially at this field position, midfield. You don't want to
And now you see
fall
John
short and give them with great field position.
This is true. And now you see John wanting to get aggressive. He says, okay, if you're going to go for it, we're going to make sure to heat you up a little bit. And guys, I don't know if this is a vote of confidence for the Oak Park coaching staff to your players, or are you sending more of a desperation approach, which is that you don't want the game to get away from you so fast, so you just feel like you have to sell out right now? I really don't know which way it is.
But this is not Oxnard is not, in the contemporary definition, a big play team. You don't have Darnay Holmes out at wide receiver here, okay? It's a different type of football team. I'd take a 20-yard punt, even if it meant Oxnard had to go 70 yards instead of 51. I think you punt the football here.
Well, I think Oak Park might think the same way you do, to a degree that, if they're not explosive, that means we have more opportunity to stop them. But I agree with you. I think you do the opposite. Since they're not a big play team, you make them earn every yard they get, because if they're running more plays, they give you more opportunities for them to make a mistake, and then you be able to capitalize on it.
No backs.
They disagree with us, though. Man coverage for Oxnard.
There is an H-back as Schmucker makes a change. He steps back. Maybe he'll quick kick this. Yep. Deuce loves a good quick kick, and it is a nice one from Schmucker. Goes down to about the 16-yard line. Let's bring you up to speed on some of the games going on involving Ventura County teams, and there are a couple surprises. Camarillo has 2 turnovers in the opening quarter, and they are scoreless against Highland. Meanwhile, Grace Brethren is trailing 7-6. Westlake leads Sarah 7-0. Pacifica is up 14-7, and Oaks Christian is leading Jordan 14-0. That is less than 4 minutes into that game.
Well, that's the first touchdown against Grace Brethren in 28 quarters.
28 quarters.
That is not the time to give up a touchdown.
Wow.
Let's put it that way. Calabasas leads Rio Mesa 14-0. Here's a run to the left side for Caldera.
Flag.
And another penalty. Let's remember what really did stall that Oxnard drive. Holding penalty. What allowed Oak Park to move the football in their opening drive? A penalty. They've been really just shooting themselves in the foot, to use a cliche here in the opening quarter.
Both teams. And when both teams, again, hang their hat on the run, holding penalties hurt, because you put yourself in a situation where now you're having to get 7-8 yards a run, which are big run plays. And if you don't get it, then you're in an uncomfortable situation where you're in a third and a 10+. And those are difficult to overcome, even if you are an explosive offense, let alone if you're a team who likes to churn the ball with the running game. So, again, penalties are going to hurt both teams when they're put in these kind of situations.
Culver City has tied up their game with Pacifica. Here's Pagano, who fakes the throw. Now sprints out to the near side and has the pass deflected at the line. It was an interesting play. Was drawn up in an interesting manner, wasn't it?
It definitely was. And both teams, man coverage, and I'm just waiting for somebody to get deep. And it doesn't even have to be a deep pass, but a slant or something, because in man coverage, all you need is a step. And if for whatever reason that guy is out of place or he misses a tackle, that's it. There's nobody back there to help you, especially when you're running cover zero and you have no safeties back there. So, if I'm Oxnard, I'm going to take a chance here. Again, it doesn't have to go over the top of his head, but put the corner in a situation where he has to make a tackle, because if he doesn't, you got a big game.
All of a sudden, 2nd down and 14, and Oxnard in a bit of a hole. Sartee, the motion man, they'll fake the end around, give to Caldera. Caldera dodges his way for about 3 yards. Tonight is obviously a massive night with so many games going on, so I think week 1 in the playoffs is always a week where we provide a lot of scores. There's so much at stake. And I'll bring you up to speed on the Ventura game. It took the Cougars, in 48 minutes against Buena, they scored 1 touchdown because they scored their 2nd touchdown on an untimed down. It only took them a minute and 55 to score a touchdown tonight. They lead 7-0.
Well, they had the ability to be explosive.
That drive was unbelievable.
They certainly have that.
What about a minute 10 game-winning drive? Here's Pagano, had a man on the near side but was flush. Now completes the pass far side. Really authoritative throw from Pagano. First down, Yellow Jackets.
Tough catch. It's so hard to catch the ball coming back to it like that while the quarterback is coming at you and puts the ball on the money. had enough awareness to make sure he had both feet down. That was complete in the NFL game there. What's he doing his Sundays? We know what he's doing. He's paying attention.
It's a really nice throw from Pagano, too, although you noticed with that man coverage, number 14, Kaiser Weiss coming free. We'll keep an eye on him again. Single coverage on the near side. Here's a give to Caldera. Caldera gets to the second level, and he's still going. It's about 10 yards. Can't bring this boy down.
No, they called him down there. 8-yard game, but
he would beg to differ.
Yeah, he definitely. He's looking for the replay booth right now. But letting Ray get 7-8 yards a clip like this can't bode well for Oak Park on the back end. You know, the only way is for them to go ahead and take a lead. But you and I both know, we talked about this pregame, he's going to wear on you all day. And when Ray is having to get tackled by your secondary defenders, that's even worse. I mean, linebackers don't like hitting him in the third and fourth quarters. You think a corner or a safety wants to, so look for him to turn off some big runs in the second half if this continues.
I'm sure his yards per carry figures are significantly elevated by quarter, I should say. Let's take a look at the CIF Southern Section Western Division Ford 2015 Football Championship bracket. That's one thing when you know it's playoff time, is you have some mouthful to read from the Southern Section. Calabasas and Rio Mesa at the top of the bracket. We expect Calabasas to win. They're up 28-0. Buena taking on Lawndale. That could set up a rematch of last year's opening round playoff game. Oxnard Oak Park winner plays the winner of Redondo Union West Torrance. Agora, who finished second in the Canyon, is at North Torrance. Ventura hosting Mira Costa at Larrabee Stadium. Pacifica is in Culver City, where Palos Verdes, the defending champs, host Simi Valley. With the exception of Calabasas, it's a wide-open division. It's going to be tough to stop the Coyotes if they stay healthy.
That's for sure. And like you mentioned, they got that Holmes brother over there, and we all know Holmes makes it right.
Here's Caldera. More space than he's seen all night, really, and he motors his way to the 45-yard line.
That was one of the things Ray had been talking about all offseason. We all know how strong he is. We all know that he can break tackles. The one thing he wanted to prove to everybody else that he can also do is that he can make people miss in the secondary, and he can break off big runs, 40, 50, 60-plus yard runs. And so it'll be interesting, again, to see if Ray can get in that second level. And if he does get an opportunity to lift those knees up and run, if he can pull away.
Trip set to the far side. Kilgore is the nearest wide receiver in that set. He's a towering figure. And the pass is complete to number 80, Dustin Sanchez. For Sanchez, that's his 14th catch on the year. And it's a first down for the Yellow Jackets.
I like that. It's important to get Dalton Pagano's confidence up. It doesn't have to be anything long down the field. Just give him a short pass to complete and let that receivers do the rest.
Yeah, I think it's something that we talk about, especially in the first half of the season, from a coaching standpoint, is putting young quarterbacks and Pagano's not necessarily a young quarterback, but he is in this offense, putting them in positions to build confidence as the game wears on.
You're exactly right. And you do that with high percentage throws like you just saw. Have receivers run hitches. Give him a little play action rollout to where he can dump it off to the tight end or the fullback. And then just progress as the game goes on and as the season goes on. As his confidence gets better, you give him more and more until you feel like he can handle it all. But especially here in the postseason. We all understand his progression in the regular season, but the postseason is a different animal. You win or go home, and everybody knows it, and he's thinking about it with every throw he makes. And so you don't want him feeling like he can't go out there and let it rip.
And with every completion he makes, it softens up that defense a little bit.
You saw him just run zone. You're exactly right, dude.
That's a great point. Pass to open up the run, and here's Caldera with a couple blocks downfield. Takes on one more tackler and is hauled down at the 16-yard line. The young man has great vision.
That was a great move in the backfield. And the key, you see the way he finished that run? There were three guys there, and he just bulldozed all three of them over. And I'll tell you guys something. Whenever you look at a running back run the ball, you want to know how much respect he has from his team? You see how many offensive linemen were over there helping him up? 3-4 offensive linemen down there ready to help him up. That guy right there has the respect of everybody with an Oxnard Yellow Jacket uniform.
People didn't help you up as much in high school because you were in the end zone on so many plays. You finished the play standing up. Here's Caldera, stiff arm to the left side, and he tumbles on into the end zone. Touchdown, Oxnard.
The general. When he gets that close to the end zone, there will be no denying him. He's certainly no stranger right there in the red zone. He's got a nose for it. You let Ray get a head of steam going like that and get that close, it's going to be almost guaranteed 6 points. Way to finish the drive this time for the Yellow Jackets.
I've got him unofficially with 101 yards rushing.
Wow. Already. We're just not so much for him being most effective in the second half.
I think he hurt us.
How many carries, Derry?
14 carries. I think he has at a season best of 41 carries in one game.
Miracosta has tied things up against Ventura. Simi Valley is trailing the defending champs in the Western Division 14-0 on the road. Westlake's up 14-0 on Sarah. Great work from Joe Curley out at that game.
This is exciting for Oxnard, extra points. They've missed 11 1 or 2 point conversion attempts this year.
Every point matters in the postseason. And Rios. Oh, and this chip shot. Why doesn't he do that every time? It's out onto the track.
Yeah, I've never been much of a kicker. I always wanted to. Why is it that we always want to do the things that we're not good at?
Like me and playing football.
Why am I here?
You know, you have to hand it to Derry. I believe when we started this, I actually was doing the first few games by myself, and Derry recently retired, offered to come on board and do games with us. He's done just about every game with us since, with the exception of your Panama Canal cruise. All right, you were living large in Central America while we're here freezing in November last year. But Derry, it's been a pleasure having you on board over the years, and you're always the first one here, even though you don't necessarily need to be. The man is prompt.
When you tell me 5 o'clock, Danny, I'm here at 5 o'clock. I'm here at 4:45.
That's the Tom Coughlin. Tom Coughlin. If you're on time, you're late.
Oh, man, and nice return with a penalty flag down up to the 18-yard line. So actually Oak Park's going to be dragged back inside their own 10-yard line to start the drive. What would you do differently if you're Oak Park here? To me, there just hasn't been a lot of rhythm.
I think for them, you just got to not get penalties.
Gotcha.
I mean, their running game is working. That's not the problem. But like we've been talking about, if you're going to run the ball and get 5 yards, 3 yards, well, you certainly can't put yourself in a position where it's 1st and 15, 1st and 20, because now you become one-dimensional on 3rd down, 3rd and long, when you could have been in a situation where it's 3rd and 5 or more. And well, now you can actually run the ball. You can still run the ball. So if your identity is going to be this, you cannot hurt yourself with holding penalties or clipping penalties or anything of that nature.
I think also they need to kind of look to their big weapon in the receiving corps, Reese Smith.
Schmucker will keep. Penalty flag right at the line of scrimmage. He works his way for about a yard. The flow hasn't been there. The balance necessarily hasn't been there as well for this Oak Park team.
I think Deuce is right. You know, the running game works to a certain extent, but you got to throw the ball sometimes. And when you have weapons out there, I mean, I see the size advantage with a few of them. Hey, take a few shots down the field. You never know what can happen. I mean, like we talked about in the weeks past, all you need is one of those to hit for that to change Oxnard's whole defensive mindset there.
Smith has 34 grabs, 642 yards, 8 touchdowns. Not exactly Matt Byers-like when he and Chandler Whitboard had that record-setting tandem in
But look at the yards per reception.
Yeah, it's pretty solid numbers, just under 20.
And as a defensive coordinator, all I need to know is that you can do it. You don't have to do it a bunch of times. I just got to know that you can.
Well, let's see if they can right here. Here's a pass to the near side, complete. And that would be good for a first down, but we have another penalty flag down. Well, there you go, Lorenzo. It looks like they continue to make nice plays and continue to back up after doing so.
Well, they went to Reese Smith.
Finally, Derek.
Finally. Well, they actually threw it to him on the first pass into the end zone. It was just about too far there in the corner.
We're all shaking our head up here. You just can't make mistakes like that. This is the playoffs. You were 0-10 last year.
Exactly. You got to take advantage of every single opportunity you have. It's just there's laundry all over the field every play. Every play this drive, literally every play this drive, including the kickoff. there's been a flag on the field against Oak Park. And so now you're in a situation where not getting a first down is the least of your problems. Now Oxnard's getting the ball in your territory with Raymond feeling like he can do anything at this point.
It has to be frustrating for Oak Park at this point. Remember, they came in a big win over Agora last week. Ended up tied for second. A three-way tie in the Canyon League. I'll tell you how that was sorted out after this play. 2nd and 13. Schmucker will keep, gets away from one, takes on a tackler, and gets about 4 yards. So what happens when you have three teams tied at 1 and 2 at the top of a given league in California high school football? Well, you do what they do in Texas football. You go to a Carl's Jr. and have a coin toss, which is precisely what they did.
Texas, they go to Whataburger.
Thank you.
They go to Whataburger.
Dairy would.
Double meat, double cheese, baby.
Everything's bigger in Texas.
They're big.
Including the coin tosses, apparently. But the coaches for Simi Valley and Agora and Oak Park all went and oversaw this Carl's Jr. coin toss. And all teams ended up on the road. Oak Park tossing now to the left side. That's complete up to the 19-yard line. It'll be just short, and the Eagles will be forced to punt.
They were 2 yards away. See where the penalties come into effect. That would have been a first down. They would have had a first down a long time ago. It's beautiful that Deuce, they did get the passing game going, but everything was called back.
He was wide open, too.
Each time.
We're actually close enough for a measurement, guys. My eyes deceive me in seeing where the first down marker was, actually at the 19-yard line.
That's short.
Wow, they got it.
And they're giving him the first down. They're not even going to measure.
Well, it looks like, wow.
It looks short.
It looks short by a yard.
By a yard.
I thought it was just a matter of how much he was short by.
Well, that is a fortuitous turn of events for the Eagles. Might be a drive starter here. They are only down 7-0, obviously. Reese Smith will be the wideout near side. Trips to the far side for the formidable Schmucker. 6'4". He's the tallest player on the field offensively for Oak Park. Sprints out to the right side. Pass is nearly intercepted. The wide receiver, I don't know if it was thrown behind him. He just didn't seem to reach up and try and grab that one.
Had he just stopped and put everything he had into throwing the ball downfield, I know it was late, but he had a receiver there running right down the sideline on his side, and he could have just chucked it up, and he had about 10 yards. So if he had the arm strength and the awareness to see that guy streaking up the field, we might have seen a big play just then.
Well, I think he's got the arm strength. I think he can throw it.
For sure. I know he broke out late, so I'm not saying that he should have saw him. Just if he would have, you never know what could have happened there had he stuck his foot in the ground and just chucked it.
About a third of the way through the second quarter, they'll use that little wide receiver screen, and Oak Park will come up just about 1 yard short of a first down. It's about those confidence throws, and to me that was one.
They should do that again. Anytime you have trips to one side and you only have two defenders and the third defender is 10 yards back, you got to keep throwing it because you have numbers. You have 3 against 2. That means you've got 2 blockers, and the only guy that can make the tackle if those guys do their job is 10 yards back. So you put him in a position where if he happens to make one person miss, you never know what could have happened. But the best thing to happen, you get 10 yards off one play. So I'd keep lining up in it until Oxnard does something about it.
You're right, Lorenzo. Every short pass that they've thrown, the guy's been open.
See, here they won't throw it. See, now they've got the third defender up.
And Schmucker will try the sneak. It looks like he ultimately picks up the first down. An Oxnard player comes out of the pile with the football, and the head referee says, I don't think so, young man. That's Andre Bellamy, who is one of the more recognizable players on the field. He has he's got quite the do. Flowing locks on his cardinal and gold jersey. I like the look.
I'll tell you what, those linebackers love him. Same way Teddy Bruschi and those guys loved Vince Wilfolk. You saw when Ray Lewis, a few years before he retired, he was screaming to get a holding out of there because what those guys do up front is they free them up. They make it to where those guards and tackles can't get up there and they can come downhill and make tackles freely. He's as important to that defense as anybody else on the field.
Schmucker throwing deep at the 20, and it's just knocked away.
Perfect throw. Perfect throw. stuck his foot in the ground and put it up there. And even though he was double covered, the ball dropped right in the breadbasket. Tough catch for the receiver to make, but God, what a beautiful throw.
As we look, there's actually 4 Yellow Jackets trotting back to the defensive huddle. I know he had 3 players around him. There might have even been a 4th in the area as well, but it was a good throw from Schmucker.
I mean, ill-advised, I'm sure, from the coach when he first saw it. But, you know, you got to love the confidence of that guy. It dropped right where it was supposed to. Had it landed anywhere else, I mean, you know, we might be looking at a first down for Oxnard right now.
2nd down and 10. Schmucker now in the pistol. They'll look at the screen again. Lorenzo, you saw that all the way. And the wide receiver is met all the way. Catch from Michael Hewitt, who's down injured on the play, and a big hit from Simon Ponce.
Well, see, and that's the thing. That was a great play call. They had the numbers there, but, you know, at the receiver, you got to make that block. I mean, you can't leave your guy out there by himself, and that's the thing. You know, he's trusting the guy to make that block for him. He's thinking he's just going to catch the ball and get up the field, and it doesn't have to be a pancake block, but you certainly got to get in his way, because see, what happens there is if you don't touch him at all, he's just coming screaming right down the field, and now we got a guy hurt. You got to get some kind of hand on that corner.
You have to be, I'm looking for the right word here. With wide receiver screen passes, you have to be a bit frugal sometimes. I think frequently at all levels of the game, it works, and then you go right back to it. But cornerbacks, because of the nature of the position, they say, you know, running backs, you frequently have a short memory, right? Well, cornerbacks, I think, remember a lot. They always remember when they get beat, especially on a screen pass like that. So as soon as you see it coming, it was read perfectly, and they were able to make the play.
No, he was waiting to diagnose that.
Yeah, he had about a 5-yard fast start on him.
Because they know it's the same thing I was just talking about. They know that if they can jump it, sometimes if they jump it fast enough, they can even pick that off.
Right.
You know, if you can diagnose it fast enough. But, you know, there, again, the receiver didn't touch him. And so it was just a kill shot. It was a kill shot for him, and he took advantage of it. And, you know, he was defenseless. There wasn't much he could have done about that. I mean, I'm hoping that it's just the fact that he lost his win, because, you know, that takes a few plays you recover. You hope it's not anything more serious than that.
Michael Hewitt is certainly being helped off the field. We hope he's all right. He's a key corner for this Oak Park team.
Boy, it looks like his back has got to be hurting him. Don't you think, Lorenzo?
It's either that. I thought he got hit in the front, so it could be a hip pointer. And boy, those hurt when they catch you in the right place.
Make sure to follow us on Twitter at VCS Preps, where you can read great tweets like this. Unreal, breaking several tackles, Thomas Duckett with a 92-yard touchdown run to give Pacifica a 21-14 lead over Culver City. Now that Oxnard has won another league title with a big win over their rival, do the fans root for Pacifica? I'm going to find out in this booth the more I read tweets like that.
I don't think so. I don't think they're going to.
Here's Schmucker. It's all of a sudden 3rd down and 10. He has time to throw as he sprints out right. Plenty of time. Now throws over the middle. That is complete. Lorenzo, my eyes were on the safety trailing across Garcia Basua. I thought he was going to have an easy interception. Competed by Schmucker.
I did too, and that is another one of those ill-advised throws by the coaching staff. It's no, yes, yes. I mean, stopping from one side and throwing back to the other side. You know, you got to love the confidence in him, but I know he's giving the Oak Park head coach a heart attack, but all is forgiven when the chains move like that. You just move on.
3 straight 3rd down conversions for Oak Park.
Well, it's the balance they're going to have to show if they're going to come out with a victory tonight. I mean, we know their running game can be explosive, but to soften it up, they're going to have to pass the ball, and they've been doing it.
Drive has already gone 36 yards, but they still have 54 more to go. And that quick hitch route is incomplete. Swing route, I should say.
If that throw is a little bit lower, you're looking at another 5, 6, 7 yard gain there. I mean,
he got a real good blocker out there.
Exactly. Yeah, he picked it up that time. I can guarantee you the coaches got in those receivers' ears like, hey, if we're going to throw this, the play is there. You guys are going to have to block. And they left a lot of yardage out there. If they had that throw been a little better. He's been accurate the entire drive, but I know he wants that one back because there's some yardage left out there.
Big difference between this little hitch pass and the other one. The receiver was going forward, The other one, he was kind of having to look back for it, and he was stopped and allowed that defensive back to get right on him.
Well, and that's the key to those. You want him to be able to catch it moving forward. That way he can pick up as much yardage as possible as soon as he catches it.
Delay of game against Oak Park. This is going to be one of those drives where they have about 60 yards, yet they've only progressed 36 on the field.
Yeah, kind of like Ventura last week. They were moving the ball, and then for whatever reason the drive was stalled. And Buena, too, to be honest. They were both moving the ball. They seemed to have no trouble, but something would happen. A mistake would be made, a penalty here or there. The drive would stall, no points.
And in terms of last week's game, obviously the drama of the final few minutes is what everyone focuses on. But for Buena, they were in complete control. One more scoring drive. If they make it 14-0 in the second or third quarters, that game's over.
I still believe they did everything right. I do. Yeah. But so did Ventura on the last drive. Usually there's a blown coverage or we question a certain call. I really don't. I feel like both teams played good and Ventura just happened to make one more play.
Completion to Reese Smith up to the 50-yard line. I still think the Bulldogs can have a really successful postseason, although they would face Calabasas next week, which that Coyote team, they're an absolute buzzsaw. You just do not want to run into them when they are healthy.
I think what suits Buena, what could give them a shot, is the fact that they can run the ball, especially if they can run it with authority the way they ran it against Ventura. They can get that offense to help their defense by moving the ball down, but they're going to have to finish. When you get down there, you're going to have to score. You cannot kick field goals.
You can't turn the ball over. You can't commit penalties. That's what the postseason's about. And now Schmucker throws an incomplete pass on 3rd down and 6. And 4th down upcoming, and Oak Park comes out in a punting formation. At least they flip the field with, by picking up, 41 yards on the drive.
Well, see, and it's the same thing. I know it was only a 5-yard penalty there in the delay of game, but they ended up in a 3rd and 6? That would have been a 3rd and 1. You can run the ball again, and then you can move the chains. Penalties, even though it's not a 15-yard personal foul or a 10-yard holding penalty, it was still a penalty that probably put them in a situation where they could have got yet another 1st down.
Nice
this punt will roll out of bounds at the 16-yard line, and Oxnard will start from there. 5:34 to go. And this is going to be an interesting drive. This very well could be the drive. Remember what I just talked about 2 minutes ago? I know Derry wasn't listening.
What?
But Lorenzo was.
When's the game start?
An opportunity. Last week, Buena had an opportunity, multiple opportunities, to make it a 14-point game before halftime, really on either side of halftime. And that is the opportunity that Oxnard has right now.
Well, we're going to find out if Oxnard's ready to turn the corner. Do they have what it takes to finish their opponents? When you have the game right where you want it. You're in control. You can call whatever play you want to call, but you're going to have to take advantage of it. Well, that was almost a fumble there.
Sure
it was a fumble, but it looks like it was ultimately recovered by Caldera.
Bad handoff.
It was high. It looked like it was kind of up by the face mask there.
Oh, sure. It's always about where the quarterback put it.
No, it was up high.
I got to hold it down for my running back brethren.
Absolutely. Laces out. It was all Dan Marino's fault.
Tony Romo says the same thing.
Yeah. Oh, boy, that was the worst. 2nd down and 12. Here's Caldera. It is of course, in any time a running back gets the ball right in the gut, then he's going to be able to carry it for 6 yards. But mistakes, and again, Oxnard is looking at a 3rd down and medium. They'll rush to the line before Oak Park can make a change. The Eagles have 12 players on the field, and they're forced to take a timeout.
Hence the rushing on Oxnard's side. They saw that and wanted to see if they can get a free 5 yards and another 1st down out of the deal. Oak Park caught it. Smartly called timeout.
Let's bring you up to speed with what's going on. Oaks Christian's in a nail-biter, 35-0 in the first quarter. They will advance for the first time in the Pac-5 postseason. Will be interesting to see what Oaks can do. The only team that advanced beyond the 2nd round in the Pac-5 postseason was St. Bonaventure when they ultimately lost to Mater Dei. We actually had that quarterfinal against Santa Margarita. That was an unbelievable game a few years ago. Going back to that St. Bonnie Santa Margarita game, I think there are 8 or 10 guys from that game that I see making plays in college football on Saturdays.
And some of those guys will have a jersey on Sunday.
Yeah.
I mean, that just lets you know how much talent was out there that night.
There was one kid who was, a little bit lesser received on the scouting report. I'll give you his name in a moment. Here's Caldera stretching for the first down, and he picks it up. A nice run from Ray Caldera.
Oh, shoestring tackle there. I was kind of looking forward to seeing Ray kick out of that one. I really want to see him lift those knees up just to see how that hard work over the summer pay off. We all know he can run people over and juke them, but I really want to see him open up and see that long speed. I know he's so eager to prove that to people. Great tackle, though, by Oak Park.
Coach Mack said he picked the team up and put them on his shoulders this year. That is quite an endorsement. Here's Kilgore. Kilgore gets away from 1 to the 45. Not necessarily known for his escapability, but a solid gain from Blake Kilgore.
Just a big kid. Boy, it's just tough to bring him down.
Another one of those high percentage throws, Deuce. You know, you just give it, just throw a little flat, a little slant. Let those guys make plays. You know, they're out there for a reason. You know, it was basically a 1-yard catch, and he turned it into a 9-yard gain.
6'4", 220 pounds. Lines up in the slot. 2nd and 1 for the Jackets, and Caldera will get the first down for Oxnard. This is probably the kind of drive they want, is chew up a good amount of the clock but put some points on the board.
This might be the shortest game you've covered all year. With both teams running the ball like this, it is already almost halftime. I feel like we just got here.
Time has certainly flown by. I remember a Santa Paula Fillmore game we did that was under 2 hours. It was 14-7, I think, the final score a couple years ago. Here's Pagano. Pagano incomplete.
Great defensive play.
Yeah, nice play defensively. Just didn't have the zip on the throw intended for Sartee.
Yeah, that ball had to come out quicker, but it's still a nice job breaking on the ball by the corner there. Got there just in time to make that play. Had he been a little later and missed that tackle, I think that guy had the speed to go the distance there. But nice job by the corner breaking.
Certainly run a bit of a risk jumping a route like that. But the gamble pays off, and it's 2nd and 10.
Yeah, had he got there a little earlier, they might be striking up the band on the other sideline.
That's right.
Pagano from under center this time. Play fake. And it's knocked down at the line of scrimmage. A really nice play defensively. I believe that was Brandon Egan. And we talk about the transfer, about Schmucker coming in. You mentioned Kaminsky from Chicago, came out here to live with his aunt and uncle. He really is such a tone setter. But Brandon Egan is another one. He's an All-American lacrosse player at Oak Park. And when Tim Kenny was, if you will, putting the roster together in some ways, he saw Egan on campus and said, you want to play some football? Sure, why not?
I always wanted to go out and practice with the lacrosse team at Florida State. Something about that sport that made me want to try it.
Here's Pagano airing it out as a penalty flag thrown against Oak Park, and the corner probably could have done a better job of looking back at the ball as he just completely hauled down Dustin Sanchez. First down, Oxnard.
Of course, you know.
There is a penalty flag, I'm sorry, Deuce, back at the 40-yard line as well, so these might be offsetting.
You know, a famous football player who was a lacrosse All-American was Jim Brown.
Really?
Yep.
I didn't know lacrosse existed then.
Did Ernie Davis play lacrosse too?
I
feel
he
like
did.
he did. I feel like
he
he played. I feel like he played lacrosse as well. Something about that sport and football.
Number
players.
44.
Right, both of them.
Jim Brown was 32 with Cleveland Browns.
With Cleveland, he changed his number.
Yeah.
Yeah, at Syracuse, they were both 44.
Ernie Davis went to Syracuse as well.
Yes. Yep.
Offsetting penalties.
Tragic loss of that young man.
Oh man. The Express, though, was a great movie.
Pagano flushed from the pocket, being chased by three Oak
Park
players.
Run.
Nice block from Caldera. Pagano picks up the first down and more, but I think this one's coming back. Caldera just went low on the would-be tackler, and I think he'll be penalized for it.
Yeah, you can't do that at all in high school, and that's a good rule. I agree. You don't want guys getting hit in the knees when they're this young.
I think it was a good call. No, it'll go against Oak Park. My mistake.
Wow. That's a
Apparently
huge win
Caldera
for
was
Oxnard.
thrown to the ground, I think, is the thought, that he was pushed in the back. To me, it looked like Caldera had, tried to go low on one of the would-be tacklers, but he was actually pushed in the back. Very interesting call.
And that's such a huge penalty. They already got a gain of 20-plus yards there to move the chains, and now you add 15 on top of that. That is just what the doctor ordered if you're Oxnard, especially when your offense is 4, 5, 6 yards. You're eating up a lot of clock. That really helps them in their play calling selection now moving forward. And instead of looking to get 3 points, you're looking to get 6 and not having to really change your play calling at all.
It's a penalty you so rarely see for a push in the back against the defense on a successful play. But the Jackets will take the 10 yards. 1st and 10 on the 29. And Dalton Pagano goes to work, gives Caldera. Caldera with a nice little cutback. Just ducking and dodging his way for a first down. Nice run from Raymond.
You know what I'd be interested to know, Deuce? Is I bet you more than half of Caldera's yards throughout his whole career have come after contact.
I bet probably about 80 to 90%. Wouldn't you think?
It is unbelievable. It's just like, I don't think he even sees the first 2 defenders. It's almost like they're not even there. I mean, and I felt like that to a certain degree, but it wasn't from a broken tackle standpoint. It was just I was going to make you miss. You don't see the first 2 defenders, but gosh, it's just like they're not even there.
He just shakes off the first person to him every time he carries the football.
Boy, if he only had your speed.
Pagano play fake, throwing for Kilgore. Caught! Touchdown Oxnard. Penalty flag on the field. We'll see if the score will stand. Great throw over the top from Pagano.
Ineligible receiver.
Downfield. Ouch.
What a brilliant play call.
Great throw.
Brilliant play call. And went to the big tight end.
Yep.
Deuce's guy. Great
Kilgore.
throw.
Yep.
Great throw. You know what? Even though it doesn't count, that's still great for Pagano's confidence, though.
Exactly.
Nice play action. One up top. I still think that is because Oxnard has control of the game, I still think that's a boost of confidence for everybody out there right now.
There are games when we saw Oxnard play over the last couple of years when they were in situations, where they needed to make a big throw. And knowing Dalton and having covered him for a few years, you are just, as a neutral, you're just wishing and hoping he's going to make the throw. It's one of the best throws I've ever seen him make. That was a great play, a perfect play fake, and a fantastic throw to finish it off. Was that the first tackler?
At a great time. Yeah, he held on for dear life there. You know what? It was a D lineman, so we got to give him a pass.
Right.
We got to give him a pass. He probably weighs more than Ray, and Ray still took him for a ride for about a yard or 2. So.
Well, he's got 132 yards already, so he's moved past Lister into 7th place on the all-time list.
Buena is trailing 7-0. Sorry, go ahead. To Lawndale.
He needs about 4,000 to catch you.
He's going to have a Ronnie Jenkins type night, huh?
Here's Caldera.
He needs about 10 of them in a row.
Caldera gets about 3 yards. I see you around with Ronnie quite a bit. How's he doing?
Oh, he's doing outstanding. You know, we both love to help kids. He and I were running the gym there for about 2 years, and you know, it just got to the point where, you know, we love helping kids just for the sake of helping kids. And, you know, when it's your occupation, you know, you start focusing on the wrong things. And so now we get to do what we love doing it just for the sake of doing it. But he's doing outstanding, loves giving back. And that's what you love to see out of a guy like that accomplished.
Here's Pagano on 3rd and 8, looking to Kilgore. And this time, Kilgore hauls it in, takes it in. No penalty flag on the play. Touchdown, Yellow Jackets.
What did we see different right now from this touchdown pass that we didn't see from the other one? Not only was he not as wide open, but it was a different throw. He understood that he can't loft it in there. He threw it in there with authority, put it right where it needed to be, and allowed him to just finish the play. Like we just talked about, even though that touchdown pass got called back before, that was still a boost of confidence for him. It gave him the confidence to put the ball in there, even though there were guys around him, and put it right where it needed to be. We just saw him grow up even some more. Great throw by Don Pagano.
And now the all-important PAT to make it a 14-point game. It's true. You know, when I talked to Coach Mack this week, we talked about the league season and the team's progression. And when he talked about the team's progression, it always seemed to come back to Dalton Pagano. He told me that he has been the evolution of the offense, basically.
And rightfully so. I mean, listen, we're all smart people here. We know that the engine for Oxnard Yellow Jackets is Raymond Caldera. We know that. And everyone else knows that. And coming into a game, if he's not the main guy that you're trying to stop, then you're going to have a long night. But if Oxnard is to reach their potential, and go as far as they possibly can in the postseason, it starts and ends with Dalton Pagano. He is going to have to feel comfortable. He's going to have to feel confident that he can make those types of plays and those types of throws when they need him to make them. He just did right there. But he's exactly right. His maturation process has been the key this entire year for Oxnard, playing as well as they are now.
He's making the right reads before the snap. He's making the right reads after the snap. He's seeing the entire field, which is what Coach Mack told me, and we saw it on that sequence there. Football returned up to the 21-yard line. Oak Park has one timeout, trailing by 2 touchdowns, and kicking off to Oxnard to open the second half. Let's see if they want to run a 2-minute drill. We always seem to have these situations where a team has about 1 minute and 15 seconds.
Well, we know it's possible, right? I mean, we talked about it for a few weeks of them not being able to, how it's been extremely hard, rather. We watched it happen, and we've watched them be able to throw the ball.
This is kind of like the offense that you'd like to have in 2 minutes. Just the short passes get out of bounds,
And Oak Park has the weapons to get it done.
And they'll run the football on first down. 5-yard gain.
Like to see him get north and south there.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like the type of runner that really wants to get to the edge anyway. But, just go ahead and get straight up the field. Mike could have got another yard or 2 out of the deal.
Schmucker is taking the play over on the sideline. Has to run over to the huddle. They probably won't snap the ball until there's about 35 seconds left in the half.
They figure it's us or nobody. If we end up making a mistake, we're certainly not going to give Oxnard much time to score. But they're not exactly the most explosive team, so I don't think you so much had to worry about that.
Schmucker will try and test the Oxnard secondary. And that pass is incomplete, just beyond the reach of Reese Smith. So they ended up taking a shot with now 25.8 seconds left, and it's third down.
There's a flag over there unless he's picking it up on the far side.
Yeah, pass interference against Oxnard. It looked like Smith had come free, but still the PI call will go against the Jackets. A 15-yard penalty. And this is where you wish you had those 30 seconds back from the running play.
You're exactly right. That throw was where it needed to be, though. They were in a deep cover 2 look where the Mike linebacker was essentially responsible for the middle of the field in terms of pass coverage. So that means that the pockets in this situation are in the back corners. So the throw was right where it needed to be. I thought that the receiver had a chance to catch it. Now we know why he didn't. Pass interference on that side. Oak Park has another shot, but they definitely want those 30 seconds back. That's without a doubt.
One timeout and time for about 3 or 4 plays.
He's throwing
they throw backward. Reese Smith is going to throw the football. Can't escape and is eventually tackled short of the original line of scrimmage.
I think
the
that was meant
safeties
to
are
be
always going to play deep either way. So I think to run that play, it was always going to be an uphill battle. I like the aggressive play calling, though, from Tim Kenny at least.
You're right. I think you got to set that play up to run it in a situation where they're not expecting you to go deep in that particular situation. Like you said, the safeties are back. The middle linebacker is essentially a third safety playing deep middle. So obviously the idea from the defensive side is to keep everything in front of you, and that's exactly why everybody was so deep. So I would have liked to see them save that play for another time.
Arroyo Grande is on top of Royal, 17-14. Camarillo is leading Highland 28-zip. Newberry Park leading Bishop Diego 14-6. That could be a good one. Oaks Christian 49-0 over Jordan. A 92-yard scoring drive for Orange Lutheran. They lead the Seraphs 14-zip. I'm not going to look at the expression on your face.
Orange Lutheran has been good for a long time. And I got to tell you, the last 3 games they played St. Bonnie in the postseason, 96, 2000, 2001, they were all losses. And they were all in the semifinals and the championship games. So, even though it was a long time ago, I'm certain they want to get that monkey off their back and get past the Seraphs.
Wasn't that 2001 game at Orange Lutheran for the
No, ironically, they've all been here. Orange Lou has never played St. Bonnie at home. This is the 4th time in a row they've had to come out here in postseason play, and they've lost all 3 times.
Wow.
But they were always such a well-coached team, and they always had a whole bunch of talent, but just couldn't get past Bonnie.
Well, they have the edge tonight in a game that was the late kickoff. It kicked at 7:35 at the Ventura College Sportsplex. 10.4 seconds, 3rd down and 11. You just run the football once and head into halftime, more than likely.
I think so. 10 seconds, only something bad can happen, if you ask me.
No timeouts, really. Like there should have been a penalty on Reese Smith on the near side. Schmucker will stiff arm one player, and he'll go out of bounds with 1.6 seconds left. I think this is interesting, right? You have a big kid. He's a talented quarterback. He might be able to throw the ball 55 yards.
He might. He really might if he steps into it. Love his attitude. He really runs like a running back. I watched him lower the shoulder earlier in the game on a corner. I mean, really get down with him and try to just embarrass the guy. So, I mean, there's no doubt who the leader on that field is right now for Oak Park.
Well, I had that one really good 51-yard run where he just went off the left end.
The biggest play of the game thus far for Oak Park tonight. It came on the opening drive, and they've been unable to score. Here is a carry on 4th down. That is the end of the first half. The Pacific View League champs playing like it. Doing it on the ground with Raymond Caldera, and through the air with senior signal caller Dalton Pagano, whose touchdown pass to Blake Kilgore has given the Jackets a 14-0 lead on the VCS Preps Game of the Week, presented by the Ventura County Star. We'll be back with the second half of the CIF Southern Section Western Division game in about 10 minutes. Back live at Oxnard High on the VCS Preps Game of the Week, brought to you by the Ventura County Star. My name is Danny Page. With me, the Deuce Derry Eads and the Lorenzo Booker. Lorenzo, you're the big man on campuses. You're not the big man on one campus. You're like the big man on every campus you go to, man. You know, it's kind of like working with Derry. Same thing.
Oh, you're exactly right. Deuce is the man.
Yeah. 14-0, Oxnard leads, and Deuce is the man in terms of statistics. What catches your eye there, Derry, on the old reporter's notepad?
Ray Caldera, 21 carries for 134 yards and that one touchdown run. Pagano's 5 of 9 for 60 yards and that one touchdown pass to Kilgore. Oak Park only has 109 yards total offense. You know, they had that one big drive where they converted 3 third down situations, but they just couldn't quite get over the hump. And I think that was kind of the big series there at the start of the second quarter, where they had a chance to really be right with Oxnard.
But if there's something that sticks out, it's that Caldera has full game type statistics in the first 2 quarters. 21 carries, 134 yards.
It's hard to not have control of a game when your running back is playing like that. And, you know, we were talking about statistics. Raymond Caldera owns virtually every rushing and touchdown record. He might own every rushing yardage and touchdown record here at Oxnard High School. That is not an easy feat. We're talking about Desmond Davis. We're talking about Chad Pearson. We're talking about Lawrence Berkeley. These are some serious running backs that played here. Chad and Desmond, you guys remember, played at the same back. That was one of the most feared backfields of all time. If you want to talk about them both together, that's one of the most feared backfields of all time. He has more yardage than all of them, more touchdowns than all of them. This is a special running back.
Aaron Brown
was
a very good running back.
You're forgetting a player who's on an NFL practice squad right now.
Terrell Watson. Exactly.
Yeah.
Oxnard has had some serious running backs.
Watson was really running back for one season.
Sure.
Pretty much.
But still, there are single game records, which obviously Caldera has for those 373 yards against Pacifica a year ago. And he is with some elite names. Anytime that you're being compared to someone who is currently getting checks that say NFL on it, I think that's pretty positive.
Those are sweet.
Those have to be nice.
It was a Herculean effort last year against Pacifica with that 373-yard performance.
Yeah.
And it would have been where he had a few runs called back. It would have been 400 yards. He had a touchdown called back at the end of that game, but that was one of the better performances that you will ever see from anyone, especially in a rivalry game. The guy is amazing.
Didn't Watson break just about all those records at Azusa Pacific?
Yeah, he did. And I'm a huge fan of that kid. He's very humble. He is an incredibly hard worker. Went to Azusa Pacific, and I mean, to make it into the NFL, even if it is just a practice squad at this stage, that's something special. Here's a return for Sartee. Gets up to midfield. He's finally brought to the ground inside the 45-yard line. No penalty flags on the field. I have to qualify on big plays. What a start for Oxnard.
That is how you get things going if you're the Yellow Jackets. Sartee, he's shown that explosion all game. You know, he's caught a couple of little passes here and there, and you could see the quickness and the explosion out of him. That time we got to see him really open up there. Oxnard starts with the ball in Oak Park territory. Can't ask for a better start than that if you're the Jackets.
Well, you figured they'd come out giving the ball to Caldera. Maybe they go to the air. Again, no safety help over the top. It is a give to Raymond Caldera. Caldera around the left corner. He'll get to the 30, sort of slows his roll a little bit. Still on his feet at the 10, and he finally goes out of bounds, actually, inside the 20-yard line. First down, Jackets.
Got a chance to lift those knees up. Big Ray, that's what I'm talking about. We see the hard work you've been putting in, man. It's coming. Is he going to get 20 more carries this half?
No, it's not. There's no way.
I mean, is he going to get another 40 carry? Got me running like that. I don't think I'd stop giving him the ball.
Well, you got another game next week, playoff. Let's bring somebody else to run.
But he did play with Mark Beckham, so we know he can handle it.
He's playing John Mack now. John Mack is a guy who knows how to get your team ready for the semifinals and finals.
Here's Caldera again, trying to pick up a block from Sartee. Still on his feet, Caldera. Caldera dives into the end zone. Touchdown, Oxnard. What a fitting way to end that run.
General Caldera escorting his squad to the end zone again. 2 carries, covered 45 yards, 2 carries. This is going to be a 300-plus yard night for Ray. When a guy like Ray is picking up this kind of yardage, and after contact, both of those plays, somebody was trying to wrap him up and he got away. I thought that play was dead at the 15-yard line.
The place on the field in which the play ended was nowhere near where it was intended to end, and I think that can be the mark of a great running back sometimes.
He keeps his legs moving. That's so essential for a really good running back. Keep your legs going.
They don't stop. And you know what the funny thing is? Ray actually made a mistake. Ray got indecisive, and he wanted to go outside, and then he stopped last minute, allowed the defense to corral around him, but he's so strong. Like you said, Deuce, he keeps his legs moving that he ended up turning a negative into a positive, and that is the advantage of having a special player like that. Whether it's a running back, a receiver, a quarterback, nothing has to work exactly the way it's supposed to. It's the same thing that we've been talking about last week. We talked about that with Zach Sauerwein. When you have a guy, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just put him in a position to be special, and that's exactly what you'll get.
21-0 here. It was 14-0 Westlake, but Sarah has reeled off 21 consecutive points to take a lead over the Warriors at the break. Buena with a pretty significant hangover after that stunner against the Cougars. They're down at home 26-7. This information, by the way, coming to us from the VCS Preps Twitter account, which I can see a lot of the Oxnard crew in here have the Twitter account up as well. Grace Brethren, Deuce, they made good. They're up 40-7. Vuka Bradovic with an 89-yard interception return. Newbury Park 21, Bishop Diego 18. Agora down 34-7 at the half. St. Bonaventure has scored a touchdown. Darius Vines leading them down to the 1-yard line. They do trail in that game. So there you have it.
Well, now Oak Park just got to throw the ball. Don't you think, Lorenzo, at this point?
I think
you're down
so,
21-0.
Go ahead, Lorenzo.
And they can throw the ball. I mean, I know they started off running the ball, but that's not been working like it was in the first couple of drives. And the passing game really has. They just got to, stick to it, high-efficiency throws. But the key, like we talked about before, no penalties. You cannot be putting yourself in situations where it's 3rd and 10-plus yards.
And another comeback is complete thus far, at least. At Folsom Field, the Trojans lead 20-17, mind you.
Throw that one in there.
Two touchdowns in 3 minutes.
Is that the Glendale Trojans?
No.
They got the numbers to throw this bubble screen here.
Here is an inside give. Oak Park will try to continue to assert themselves in the running game, but you're right. The approach has to be far more dynamic than it was in the opening half. They're down 21-0.
Yeah, they're not in the situation right now where they can be walking away from drives without getting points because it's the second half, first of all. Second of all, Oxnard runs the ball, so they're going to just continue to take time off the clock. But third of all, their confidence is sky high. Oxnard feels like they can do anything. You have Dalton Pagano, even though his numbers aren't super attractive, they're efficient. It's the throws that he's made when he's had to make them that makes Dalton Pagano's numbers attractive.
Well, and even look at the return game. They bring the ball all the way up to the 44-yard line. They have tremendous field position. And now defensively, they presumably force a 3-and-out.
Well, and the clock is against Oak Park. That's their worst enemy right now. You're running the ball. You're down 21-0. Throw the ball. Get something going.
They're going for it, it looks like. 4th down and 2. And Lorenzo, you don't like this.
I don't. I don't think you're in that position yet. It's still early in the second quarter. It's just the first drive. If you turn the ball over here and Oxnard scores, you
the
really
going to be running in the fourth quarter, and not really, because you're running the football.
Well, exactly.
Let's put it that way.
You're putting yourself in a really tough situation.
Oh, now he's going to punt.
Now he's going to step back and punt. A quick kick that he really had to get away quickly. That is just blasted in the air, and it is touched by Oak Park and down at the 46-yard line. Oxnard will take over from there. So they ended up punting. It was a 30-yard punt. Not a terrible result.
I think they're trying to ensure the fact that they don't get a return out of Oxnard's punt return unit.
Especially after what we just saw.
Exactly. And in the situation here, they almost got it blocked. So if this is what you're going to do, you're going to have to make sure you tighten up the protection up front and allow the quarterback time to get the kickoff.
I see John Mack down on the field talking to Eric Doria, the cornerback, and you just have this vision of him and his passion being his ability to really teach and lead kids, although when he has a kid like Caldera, he'll lead the way on his own when he has the football in his hands. He's finally throws himself to the ground at the 28-yard line. It has been all Raymond Caldera in this half.
So strong. Oh, those, like you said, Deuce, those knees just don't stop churning. Like Roger Craig, you always see those highlights back in the day. Those knees are almost hitting him in the chin because he just will not stop. I mean, the guy is just an absolute beast.
Let's see if they call number 36 again here for the Jackets. First down and 10 inside the 30. Of course, why not? Caldera up the middle, and he still works his way for 4 or 5 yards.
Guys, I know they're running essentially a 9-man box, but that's not even enough. So what I'd like to see Oak Park do, you're going to have to blitz somebody because you're not getting pressure with your front four. You're going to have to start blitzing guys. Clearly, you're not worried about the pass game. So, usually when you're blitzing someone, you got to worry about somebody being wide open. But in this situation, you have nothing to lose. You're down 21, and if you don't try to stop the bleeding right now, you're going to be down 28, and then you're really in trouble.
Give will go to Caldera, off tackle, picks up a block on the edge, now sprinting out towards the sticks, picks up the first down, stiff arms a defender, cuts back at the 5, dives into the end zone, he's in, touchdown Jackets, 5 plays from scrimmage this half, 5 carries for Caldera, and 13 points on the board. It's 27-0 Oxnard.
That was an outstanding job by Ray, setting up the blocks by his wide receivers by heading upfield, sucking the defender in, and then dipping right back out so that his receivers don't get a clip. So essentially, all they have to do is stand there in position, and then and as soon as they try to pursue Ray, who goes back outside, they run right into a blocker. Outstanding job of setting those receivers up and then doing what he does best, finishing the run in the end zone.
You bring up a big point. The great blocking downfield. They're really setting up that run to succeed.
The PAT, it's going to make the Deuce happy. They're 4 for 4 tonight, and obviously in one of Oxnard's closest games of the year, a point after touchdown, a missed PAT lost in the
Saugus,
game
I think it was Saugus.
It was West Ranch.
West Ranch.
On September 25th, a 35-34 loss. Caldera had 5 touchdowns and 250 yards in that one.
And that was certainly one Oxnard let get away. They should definitely be 8-2 right now. They had control of that game and let them get away with a couple of big plays at the end. Obviously, that mixed extra point ended up proving dividends on the back end. But one of those games where it was a loss, but they learned so much from it on the back end. And that's, I think, what you're going to see from Oxnard. Now, when they go up, they try to stay up because they had control of that game that we were just talking about, and they let it get away. So, that's ultimately the key to going far in the postseason is making sure you keep your foot on the gas. No holds barred. When you have an opportunity to finish somebody, you finish them because in the postseason, they will come back on you the further you go.
Well, it's what we've really seen them in league play. They've really started with that Rio Mesa game. Second half, they just really come on strong.
Some space for the return man for Oak Park, makes his way to the 23-yard line. I think the problem with that game against West Ranch is that otherwise, if you looked at the Oxnard schedule, and specifically for John Mack, he would have said, we've won every game we should have. Oxnard opening the season in Mack's career here against Westlake, that's a game they're probably not going to win. All things considered, let's be honest. They go down to Crenshaw and face the legend Robert Garrett, who's one of my favorite coaches in all of California high school football. They go down to Crenshaw and face Crenshaw and nearly pull off a win. So if you were 8-2 with those 2 losses, you're looking at this slate saying, we did pretty well.
Well, let's not forget they scrimmaged Alamany. Yeah. They're one of the top 5 teams in the state. So I know people looked at it and they thought, what is he thinking? But obviously we don't need to question John's resume here. And there's always a method to the madness. And the key to that is, you play those kind of teams, like you said, Crenshaw, Alamany, Westlake. They were already battle-tested mentally and physically before league started. So when league started, they were ready. They already essentially had postseason play before the postseason. So, it's no surprise to me that they're out there playing like this.
I'll tell you what, it's the same for Ventura, though. Ventura started 2-4. They picked up the most challenging schedule that they've had, and they're very close to going to 7-4. It was 17-7 last I saw in that Ventura game, their advantage over Mira Costa. Meanwhile, Pacifica leading 31-14 over Culver City. That would be a nice little upset.
Yeah, it definitely would. And, speaking of Pacifica, I think actually, that's what their Achilles heel is when they play Oxnard. Oxnard has a strong non-league schedule. And so, Pacifica, they get all this confidence, and I don't think their non-league schedule is very strong. And then they play a team like Oxnard, who clearly, even before John got here, physical toughness was not a thing that you were going to be worried about from an Oxnard team. But now, with John's experience in terms of winning in the postseason consistently, he adds that element to it. And you see, even last year, as the game goes on against Pacifica, Oxnard pulls away, and they just keep pulling away, and then it just gets away from them because they're not used to playing these types of games. And so if they can get away with a win today, I think that'll be great for Pacifica's confidence in the postseason. And this will be, their first postseason win ever? Maybe, or have they even won in the postseason before?
I believe that's more of a Deuce question. But
Pacifica?
Yeah, have they won a postseason game?
I don't think they have.
Wow. Even with Vince Moraga, they didn't win a game that
I don't
year?
think they did.
Schmucker.
I think they were like 0-5, 0-6, something like that.
Looks like he's going for it here. Steps back on 4th and 2, tries to stretch the field, and that's incomplete. Oxnard takes over at the 29.
Yeah,
that's just about that, guys.
Yeah, I think you had to go for it at that point. Clearly, your defense is not going to stop Raymond, and your offense hasn't had any, success putting points on the board. I mean, or even moving the ball since that first drive. I mean, it looked like they had something going that first drive. I was worried about Oxnard there for a minute when your quarterback is that explosive, and he was able to rip off 51 just like that. But, John clearly made adjustments, and it has not happened since.
Yeah, they're certainly continuing that trend of being a dominant second-half team. They've only run 5 plays. Caldera is the only player to touch the ball, and he scored twice.
Well, again, I'd like Oak Park to start blitzing. They're going to have to do something. See the linebacker sugaring right now.
Play fake. Pagano has Kilgore wide open. Throws to Kilgore. Caught. Touchdown, Oxnard. Pagano's last 2 passes have been touchdowns, and the Yellow Jackets are rolling 34-0.
The Eagles are on skates right now, fellas. They just, every time they think they have an answer, or at least a fraction of an answer, Oxnard changes the question on them. You've got 9, but we've been talking about the fact that they've had 9 guys in the box all night. Still not enough to stop Ray. We've just been waiting on them to take a shot, and there you have it. Anytime you have a running back ripping off yardage like that, it's only natural that the secondary their eyes are going to be in the backfield. Why wouldn't they be? Clearly the front 7 need help. The tight end runs right by him for another touchdown. Dalton Pagano's got to be feeling real good. And if you're Coach Mack, you're feeling even better. This is exactly how you want Dalton to feel going into the next round.
Exactly.
35-0 the score. There's been, and you know what quietly has changed about Oxnard from the first 12 to 15 minutes of the game to the 20 minutes that have followed? They haven't committed as many penalties. They had a lot of infractions to start the game off, and we've seen that less and less here.
Guys, for them, that's going to win and lose them the games. When they play tougher teams, that right there, because of their style of play offensively, they're going to hang their hat on Ray, and, like we talked about before, that's exactly what you're supposed to do. But you have to know who you are, and who you are is a team that needs to get into 3rd and short situations because it gives you an opportunity to let Ray be him. You can still run the ball, or when you have the ability to play action and they have to respect the run, you get guys running wide open down the field. You're going to have to commit 8-9 guys in the box to stop Raymond on a consistent basis. So when you put yourself in a 3rd and short situation, you put Dalton Pagano in the ideal situation.
Hey, when you have 1, 2, and 3 play drives, the chances of getting the penalty are very slim.
Well, I think when
I know what you're talking about this.
What's going to happen when the opposing team, whoever Oxnard faces next week, as it appears they will go on and win this, whether that be Redondo Union or West Torrance, whoever Oxnard faces next week is going to have to look at the tape and obviously look at what Oxnard was able to do in the passing game. While it wasn't flashy, it was effective.
Well, here's the funny thing. Redondo Union came down here last year and beat Pacifica, and I had a chance to see that game. Redondo Union is a lot like Oxnard. That may be a shorter game than this. I mean, they both run the ball, and they try to run it effectively. So, essentially, we may be seeing 2 teams that do the same thing. I don't remember seeing Redondo Union pass the ball that much at all. So, if they're the same type of team as they were last year, this year, then the key is certainly going to be Dalton Pagano, next week again, if that team wins the game, because they ran the ball all night in Pacifica on an extra point, just like Oxnard lost this year. They lost that game last year, game they should have won.
We're going to try and reach out and locate that score for Redondo Union.
Throw this bubble screen. They're giving it to you. You got to take it.
2nd and 9. Schmucker with a straight drop. Now trying to get away, and he gets, about 2 yards.
Remember how we talked about earlier, I said John clearly knows something. He's only rushing 4. He trusted that his defensive line would overpower the offensive line, and we've seen that. And that's exactly why they haven't been able to run the ball anymore. You got that huge nose tackle there again, cleaning it up, and the linebackers are just coming downhill scot-free, wide open, exactly how they want to be, and just they're making tackles. They're wrapping guys up.
West Torrance leads Redondo Union 21-14 at halftime in a game that will decide who, presumably, Oxnard will play.
I just really would love to see them. You're down 35-0. Okay, unless lightning strikes, you're probably not going to win it. But, guys, you got to take what they're giving you. They're not giving you anything deep because they got 2 deep safeties, which is essentially a Tampa 2 look, where the middle linebacker is responsible for anything deep over the field. So you have favorable numbers here. Just throw the bubble screen and let your guys do work until Oxnard does something different.
Penalty flag will be thrown in the defensive backfield. And Schmucker, who
slid a little bit too soon,
seems to have a nice arm, and he can throw the football, but he's really coming out of his reads very quickly and just deciding to run. And I'm not sure why.
Well, Oxnard is playing a deep zone, and I think what it is what I said before. They're trying to get big chunks of yardage. And, you're probably not going to come back right. But even when you are looking for deep chunks of yardage, if it's not there, it's not there. Just take what they're trying to give you. They've got 2 guys down there, and you've got 3. Throw the bubble screen. You got to trust your receivers to make blocks. And if they make a block, he's one-on-one with the safety. And even if he gets tackled, you still just picked up 8 yards, 8-9 yards, possibly more than that.
We've never really gotten to see this Oak Park offense do what they want tonight. Outside of that long run from Schmucker, I'd be surprised if they've been in Oxnard territory the whole night. I don't think they have.
Well, it's been kind of tough. Kaminsky wasn't like, he's like their number 2 running back. And he was just kind of as an emergency backup when Vega got hurt. It would have been interesting to see what Vega, if he could have played this game. It's taken away from Kaminsky, who's really a linebacker. It's tough against a team like Oxnard to play both ways. And so you're going to have to sacrifice one or the other.
You're going to suffer on defense. You're going to get tired of hitting Raymond. And so, like you said, when you come over to the offensive side of the ball after trying to square him up 5, 6, 7 times, that's hard for anybody to do. So, I think you're exactly right, Deuce.
And it's hurt him on offense, too, because he has to be physically tired.
Oak Park does make it into Oxnard territory here. The ball carrier upended at the 43-yard line. Oxnard making a couple changes defensively. That's another thing to notice about this Oxnard program and what's different. Obviously, the roster size. I mean, there are 80-plus players on this roster. And we have an old trick here in high school sports broadcasting, okay? When you print the rosters out, if one team has a whole other page than the other team, then that's our favorite to win the game. And that was the case when we were prepping for Oxnard at Oak Park.
Was this true, Lorenzo, when John was at St. Bonaventure? He basically had to try to have 3 different teams, an offensive team, a defensive team, and a special teams team.
There was only one player that went both ways, and that was Brandon Moscoro. He played slot receiver and he played safety, and he ended up going to the University of Idaho. But he was the only player that went both ways. He was adamant about that, about having guys, go one way. And really it ended up proving dividends for us, especially against teams like Orange Lutheran on the back end. In the second half, we were ready. And I, of course, was only getting 8-9 carries a game, so I was certainly fresh when they called upon me.
Well, I think when you look back, when a team like Newbury Park looks back at last year's CIF final, they just had Derek and Darnay doing a little bit too much on both sides of the ball, and they just didn't have enough juice in the final quarter of the season. You know, not quarter of the season as in 3-4 games, the final quarter of the final game of the season.
Those two were so dynamic, and I completely understand how you would try to lean everything on them. I was at the game last year against Westlake, and we know Westlake was talented last year. They had Malik Henry, and they were talented. And Newberry had control of the entire game. The Holmes brothers essentially took the game over on offense, defense, and special teams. But in that game, like you said, they relied on them so much. They started cramping up in the third and fourth quarter. They weren't able to sustain, and Westlake pulled away.
Well, Derek was hurt for a while, wasn't he? Didn't he miss a couple games?
The both of them, they just kept cramping. They just kept. I mean,
Darnay had 3 or 4 times the game was stopped because he had cramps.
Yep.
It was really a repetitive issue. First down here for Oak Park to the 27-yard line. And as I scan the Oxnard defense right now, there really aren't any players that play on the offensive side of the football. And that's a big part of what John Mack tries to do.
Well, it's a big deal. I mean, being fresh is a huge deal. I mean, when you're having guys go both ways, especially now when teams are tougher, you know, it's going to take everything out of you to try to stop someone on defense. And it's also taking everything out of you to sustain drives on offense. And it's not just going both ways. It's being a key guy on the offense and a key guy on the defense. You can't do everything. And, you know, you're seeing guys run out of gas.
Oak Park stacks the line to the right, runs that way with Kaminsky, and picks up about 5 yards. Dara, you and I have commented on Kaminsky, and we both obviously know his backstory. He, as I understand it, he was living in Chicago, basically homeless, and ended up coming out here to live with his aunt and uncle and go to Oak Park, and the rest is kind of history.
Really, it's miraculous that he's able to get himself together and be an outstanding young man. Hey, Oak Park is a tough academic school, and to succeed there in the classroom and on the field, that's a great story.
Well, Oak Park has always felt to me like a football family in a lot of ways, and to bring in a young man like this who they just embrace him as part of their football family, and I think the rest is history, and it's been a great season for Kaminsky and this Oak Park team to go 7-3 going into the playoffs.
Definitely speaks volumes about the people there at Oak Park. Obviously, they understand the importance of sport, but most importantly, they understand a family and support. And you know, that's a successful program no matter how many games they win, just off of that alone.
Loss of 2 yards on the carry, and that brings to a close the third quarter of play on the VCS Preps Game of the Week, brought to you by the Ventura County Star. Oxnard has run, just 6 plays in the quarter, but they've scored 3 times. They lead 35-0. Not a bad third quarter.
No. Not at all. That's exactly how you want to start the third quarter. If you're the Oxnard Yellow Jackets, I'm wondering if Ray will get any more run. I doubt it. A guy that's that physical, you know, as you said, Deuce, you certainly want to keep him fresh for next week.
And it is already a for next week kind of situation, isn't it, for Oxnard? They're already gearing up for the next round.
For sure. And, you know, Danny had a chance to talk to Ray this offseason a lot. I got a chance to spend some time with him. And, you know, this guy is a true perfectionist. It is 35-0 right now, and I'll guarantee you right now he's thinking about the reads he missed, if he missed any. I mean, I can tell from here. You never know until you watch the tape. But right now, during the game, he's thinking about what he could have done better. He should have broke this tackle. He should have broke that tackle. Against Westlake, he was so upset at the beginning because he felt like he just should have done more. That is the quality of a true leader. Nothing is ever good enough for him. And you see that, and it just wrinkles into everybody else on the offense. Everybody has to have that mindset that nothing is good enough. The only thing good enough is to win it all, and unless you do that, then there's always something left to do.
There's something more.
When you see that number one guy on your team working harder than anybody, hey, you want to work as hard as him to do your part.
And when you see that, what's your excuse? When you're tired. If the best player on your team just got 35 carries, and he's in the weight room and he's in the film room, and what's your excuse? There isn't one.
And you know what? We go and we credit John Mack a lot with what's gone on here. And Coach, listen, you know Coach Mack incredibly well. Derry and I have both covered him a lot over the years. So we give him the benefit of the doubt, and he's brought a lot to this program. Raymond Caldera was like that before John Mack arrived.
You certainly can't teach that. You're exactly right.
No.
But what John can do is just reinforce that. And when you know that your best player is like that, what John will do is find different ways to motivate him. There have been times that we have beaten somebody 50, 60 to nothing, and I'm doing 200 up downs because, I might have fumbled. I mean, I remember one time him meeting me at the hash, because I made I broke for a 20-yard run and spiked the ball because I was mad that I didn't break, and he just had it out with me. I mean, even at practice, he would put me in a situation where if I got touched by a scout team defender, well, then I lost the play. And that's where John comes in is trying to piggyback off of that motivation for Ray by finding different ways to push that.
Well, on 3rd down and 25, I think somebody's going to be doing up downs, Lorenzo, as Oxnard giving up a long gain down to the 5-yard line. 1st and goal for Oak Park, and they can get on the board for the first time tonight.
Yeah, that'd be a good job. That'd be a good deal for them. But I know John definitely wants to preserve the shutout, and so does everybody else on the defense. But Oak Park is definitely not wanting to go home with a goose egg.
Schmucker flushed again. Schmucker
sacked the referee.
Goes down with the referee.
Hope the referee's
okay.
Oh, he's down.
That whiplash, it looked like bad whiplash.
Got hit by 2 people.
The back of his head looked like it hit the ground pretty hard.
And they will send the teams to the sideline. And I think everyone's a bit concerned with the status of the referee.
Well, that's the head referee.
Yeah, it's Jack Hoover, the head referee tonight. The umpire's Chuck Hare, head linesman is Ron Jacobs, but
that could be a concussion.
it is Jack Hoover down on the field, and there's definitely concern throughout the stadium.
The back of his head hit that field.
We won't get too into it. We'll wait and see. Hopefully he gets to his feet soon. It was just an awkward sort of collision in play, wasn't it? As Schmucker basically sprinted, did a beeline right towards the referee, who he did not know was behind him. And on the tackle, the ref, Jack Hoover, just ended up kind of right in the middle of things.
Well, he's moving his arm.
Yeah, he's moving around. Pacifica, let's while we're doing this, let's take a look at some of the scores. Pacifica is in control, 31-14. Orange Lutheran's in control as well, 28-17 over St. Bonaventure at halftime. Miracosta has scored 20 unanswered against the Cougars. They lead 27-17 over Ventura. Simi Valley trails Paso Robles 42-7. Thousand Oaks 49-7 leaders over East Side. They'll advance. Grace 54-7. Sarah 24-14 over Westlake. 35-3. Santa Paula trailing at halftime. So mixed results tonight for Ventura County teams. I think the thing that sticks out to me at the moment, at least, is Ventura and Buena both trailing by double digits after that thriller last week.
Yeah, you got to wonder what the hangover there was for Buena. I mean, what a way to lose a game. And, I keep harping on this because I just thought they played so well. And, they played good enough to win. Ventura just made one more play. And, you certainly, when you look at the score for Buena and how early they were down, you got to wonder, if it just took everything out of them. If it just took the wind out of the sails. And if Ventura possibly was,
same
thing, when you win a game like that. So
when you're playing for the league championship against a rival and it's a close game all the way to the last play of the game.
That was more than a close game. It was a game so close that it needed an untimed down. And Jack Hoover still down on the field.
Yeah, usually when there's a head injury, at least I know with us, they were, before they got us moving around, they always wanted to make sure everything was okay. So,
Of course, the difference to him, he's not wearing a helmet.
Yeah, you're right. It just, as you said, he was flushed right into the referee, and so he was surprised, and it looked from here that the whiplash and him hitting the back of his head on the ground, and so hopefully it's just he'll just have a small headache and recover from that.
Hope he's all right. He's still down on the field. Well, I'm going to take us on a little bit of a tangent here, okay? And it's a question that people in Ventura County have wondered about for years. And obviously, I'm following along with the USC-Colorado game tonight. Trojans have scored 21 unanswered in the second half, and they lead 27-17. But as a USC fan, and I grew up a USC fan before going to school there, we were 100% convinced that Lorenzo Booker was going to USC. And then we talked with Kent Brown last week, who's our great sideline reporter and analyst, and Kent said, well, I'm a Notre Dame fan, and we were 100% convinced Lorenzo Booker was going to Notre Dame. What happened? Can you tell us?
You want to know what the thing
happened
is?
during that time?
See, people feel like, I know there's a lot of people that think that this was like done on purpose, and that, I was like, I'm going to wait till the last minute. And to be brutally honest, if Florida State was closer, I would have committed a long time ago.
Yeah.
But I had never left the state of California until I went on my recruiting trip to Florida State earlier in that year. But, the fact is that Notre Dame, it seemed to me that it was like St. Bonaventure all over again. And I really took a leap of faith going there. My cousin Curtis and my mother really made me go. I really, it's funny, I didn't want to go. All
to
my
Notre Dame.
No, well, to St. Bonaventure.
Okay.
And all my cousins were here, and I was having a good time. But they obviously knew something I didn't know, and it ended up working out great for me academically, athletically, and otherwise. I made a lot of great relationships. And so what the people there and all those relationships and what all of that meant to me, I just felt like it looks like if I take another leap of faith, this could happen again. But, Florida State was my favorite school. And,
they were such a fun school during that time.
I watched Peter Warwick, and, I watched them
exactly.
win the national championship against Virginia Tech, and it was just love at first sight. But, I don't mean to put a dagger in you,
please.
Danny, but USC really kind of never really had a shot.
Yeah.
But,
well,
my cousin Carrie was there, and they had Sonny Bird at tailback. They lost the Las Vegas Bowl. It was I didn't lose a game in high school. It was. I was like, man. There was only one person actually that told me you need to go to USC, and that was Ronnie Jenkins. And he said, because I had Norm Chow at BYU, and he'll do you like he did me. He was the only person that said you need to go there, regardless of what anyone else is talking about.
Well, and as you look back, remember USC didn't win a national championship after Norm Chow left the school, and that was we certainly weren't expecting the turnaround the way it happened. My freshman year was the year Carson Palmer took us to the Orange Bowl, and we ended up going 48-4. And I think you certainly made the right decision. And on these broadcasts, I think we look at the broadcast team with Will Cowan, obviously. Being a big part of it, and Darian, myself, you as well, Anthony Placencia, John Catalini, and Joe this whole cast of characters. Home has a very special place for us, and Ventura County, as a part of that home, has a very special place. And I think for you to go to Florida State and to play in the league, I think that it's very brave to have made that decision, frankly. It would have been easy, it would have been easy to just stay in Southern California.
And, it's funny you said that because my sister was really the one that put that in perspective because she knows how much I loved Florida State. And it wasn't easy for me to go to St. Bonaventure. It wasn't easy for me to leave my friends. It wasn't easy for me to go to a school, and I didn't know anyone. And that wasn't easy. And so I never forget, I pretty much made up my mind I was going to go to Notre Dame, and my sister says, man, you worked this hard. And to put yourself in a position to go to the school you wanted to go to and you're not going to go, she was like, you're crazy. And it really just hit me right then. If I'm going to go far away, well, then why not go where I want to go?
You don't want to go to Indiana.
No.
Let's put it that way.
I definitely didn't want to do that.
Great decision. Great decision for you and a tremendous career at Florida State. Oak Park knocking on the door again. It looks like Jack Hoover is being tended to on the near side. It looks like they're looking at one of his arms as well. We do have a running clock here, although that would change. If Oak Park can score here, 3rd and goal from the 3-yard line, and Schmucker dives into the end zone. Touchdown, Eagles, their first score of the night. Nice for them to get on the board.
Definitely. You don't want to put up a goose egg. not coming off of the kind of season they had. And like I said before, I know Oak Park isn't interested in any consolation prizes, but you still got to take your hat off for them to be able to bounce back after going 0-10 to come in here and make the playoffs. I don't care what anybody says. They had a good year, and they definitely put themselves in a position to continue to build on things in the future.
Well, this Oak Park program has been pretty good for a long time. They just had an off season, last year, but we're talking about a team that's been to championship game like 3 or 4 times in a 5-year period.
2004, 2006. They did it 3 times in 4 years. They were the runner-up.
And 3 losses were to Oaks Christian.
Like the Buffalo Bills, huh?
Good company. Buffalo Bills and the Dallas Cowboys, I think.
Man.
One time they lost in the semifinals to Oaks Christian. So it's they're a good program. I mean, they've had some good athletes. Sean Westlake played for UCLA and did a great job here. He's one of the best defensive players I ever seen. What a great linebacker he was. Gavin Ketchum was a really good player. Hey, Eric Affolter played there, holds the county record for longest field goal.
Did he really?
Yep, he was a running back.
You know who went to Oak Park first? And he's a first rounder. He's a former teammate of mine at Florida State. Was Travis Johnson. He ended up being a defensive lineman at Notre Dame Sherman Oaks. Went to Florida State, but he started at Oak Park.
I forgot.
A lot of people don't remember that.
Had a nice career as well.
Definitely did.
Beast of a defensive lineman.
We had to stick together out there. Wasn't that many of us from California?
Sardi will take it from the 1-yard line. Sort of meandering his way to the right side. Picks up a big block.
Flag.
Cuts back at the 30. Has a lot of room to run on the left side. Gets bit by the turf monster. Penalty flag down, and this one will come back a little bit. Oxnard will go on the road next week. They're leading 35-7, although this is one thing that hopefully the Oxnard Union High School District eventually can make good on.
Second team offense out there.
Is putting in turf fields. And it's going to happen at some point because the dirt is not a good look this time of year, but it's something we've kind of become used to.
I'll tell you what, I used to, I played in Larrabee. I think we had this conversation last week when we talked about how there was like 6 teams, not to mention the Pop Warner teams that would play there on Saturdays when we weren't at St. Bonnie. But, it definitely isn't a good look in the winter, especially when you're a runner and you fall and you graze your elbow or something in that stuff. Man, when you get in the shower, burns.
Well, but it's a big expense because you've got to do it for all the schools in the district. You can't do it for just one unless you fundraise for it, like Camarillo's doing.
Yeah, it looks like they're pretty close to getting their field in. I'm sure they hope they'll have it for next year, and maybe they'll get to paint their logo on there with a CIF championship as well. The Scorpions are leading against Highland, and they should advance to the next round. Jake Constantine has an unofficial visit coming up to San Diego State.
Oh, attaboy, Jake. One of the most underrated players in the area, the whole southern section.
477 yards passing last week.
Yeah. What doesn't he do? What doesn't he do? Guy's got a heart of a lion. All he does is make plays. So all he does is make plays. His team is going to be 11-0 as long as they finish out. And listen, Jake was upset this summer not having a D1 offer. I mean, he was highly upset. And and what you're seeing out of Jake Constantine in terms of his play, you're really seeing it out of everybody on Camarillo's roster. I mean, everybody is playing angry. I mean, they're upset, and they go out there and they take it out on everybody in their way. And they're 11-0. They played Arroyo Grande. They played Paso Robles. They scrimmaged. They played Calabasas. They played St. Bonaventure. They're 11-0. Who has played a tougher schedule than them in the area? I mean, obviously, when you discount the postseason, obviously that Pac-5 postseason is a monster, but who really has played a tougher schedule
Thousand Oaks, obviously, who
T.O.?
Royal Newberry Park, that's a really difficult league.
Yeah, but they haven't played the non-league schedule that Camarillo's played.
No, I'm saying Camarillo. Newberry Park and Royal being opponents.
Yeah.
As Dalton Pagano came out of the game to play at the quarterback position, but he checked back into punt, and the punt was partially blocked. So Oak Park will take over at the 22-yard line. Now the clock is running again, so we've resumed the running clock.
Yeah, it's when you start the quarter, with
Oh,
a
it's when
35.
you start the quarter at 35.
When you start, and then it continues the rest.
Well, if
of
they
the-
can score, kicking onside, score again, kicking onside, they just
No.
it's not gonna happen. Huh?
They can't. Gary's
See,
right. It's when you
let me
start
get my
the-
wallet out here, Lorenzo, and see how much you're willing to wager on
You've
that.
been playing way too much Madden.
With a running clock, yeah.
I just lost to my son on Wednesday. Play action me. I was running an out park
that
type
hurts.
defense. I had 9 in the box. I figured, he doesn't know, and
doesn't
I
know what
rushed
he's doing.
everybody. He play action me and went right up top.
The old Engage 8.
Oh man.
You know, just another huge tangent because it will hopefully we'll have 2 great games the next 2 weeks. I really miss the NCAA football video game. You know, that was a fun one. That was. And then those Bruins and Ed O'Bannon had to mess the whole thing up.
I was excited to see myself on the first college game.
Yeah,
but,
that had to be fun.
But at the same time, I understand the big picture of it all.
Oh,
and
I couldn't agree more with you, frankly.
I'm really happy about what they're doing.
You're waiting for your check. Dropping back on second down is Schmucker, and that's incomplete. And that drop pass kind of sums up the evening in a couple ways, doesn't it?
Yeah, you're right. Can't run before you catch it.
38-20 Pacifica with 6:30 left leads Culver City. Oaks Christian 56, Jordan 8. That's a final score. Calabasas 49-3 over Rio Mesa. Simi Valley down 38. Camarillo up 35-7 in the fourth quarter, but Jake Constantine is the photo of him talking on the sideline with Rudy Carpenter. So I think that one's about done.
Is Isaiah Otis back, or is he still sidelined?
I believe he's back. I can't confirm that. I thought he was back for Camarillo this week. If anybody knows on Twitter, hit us up at VCS Preps. Is Isaiah Otis back? Camarillo might be tested next week. Maybe more likely they'll be tested in the semifinals.
And that's what I was just going to say. Even if they don't have Isaiah back, they can even get through next week. But the real thing was for them to have him back by the semis and the championship, as long as they played like we know they're capable of playing.
Run to the right side for Oak Park. Touchdown Eagles. They'll make it 35-13.
They play the winner of that Tascadero St. Joseph Santa Maria game.
Yeah, and we saw St. Joseph Santa Maria. By the way, the winner of this game, which will be Oxnard, we still do not know who they will play, as Redondo Union and West Torrance are tied at 21 with 7:15 to go. Oxnard fans. But either way, you're heading down the 405 freeway coming up next week to take on either Redondo Union or West Torrance. And remember, Oxnard, that was one thing Mark Beckham, I think that was really brilliant about Mark's scheduling, is he always scheduled road games that were a long ways away. And John Mack inherited a couple of those. They had to go to Quartz Hill and San Luis Obispo this year. So the boys are ready for a long bus ride down the 405 next Friday.
Yeah, they better leave early because that traffic on that 405 is,
Joe Curley was in it today, man.
awful.
Yeah, it's terrible. Especially on a Friday. Woo.
No police escorts at
No,
this level.
no.
You're going to have to sit.
That's how Deuce gets to the VCS Preps game of the week, though. Police escort. So Oak Park kicks away. The clock's still running, and this one's about done, fellas. A dominant first 3 quarters from Oxnard. Oak Park has scored twice in the fourth, but the running clock continues.
I think if I'm Oxnard, I would rather play Redondo Union. And, I'm saying that not knowing anything about the other team, but, from what I saw, again, from Redondo Union last year, is they run the ball, and they ran it from a wing T type of situation. And, you really want to play that type of team because if you can get them in a 3rd and long, then they're pretty one-dimensional. You're putting yourself in a really good situation. And seeing as how Oxnard now, they can throw the ball pretty well when they need to. With that monster in the backfield, you're getting at least 8 in the box, minimum. And so I think from a defensive standpoint, playing against a team that runs the wing T, if you can stop them and put them in a 3rd and long situation, you're in a pretty good situation as long as you can move the ball on offense.
Well, with the exception of that long run from Schmucker, Oxnard's front 7 has been terrific tonight.
Yeah.
They've really made nice plays both in the passing game and in terms of rush defense. I've been impressed definitely with the way this team's come along.
Yeah, and he hadn't blitzed anyone. He never blitzed a linebacker all night. The front four handled business.
Inside of 2 minutes now, and Oxnard will just run a few plays and likely run this game out. Carry up to the 36-yard line for the Yellow Jackets.
I'll tell you what, guys, stopping the run, when you have your front four play like Oxnard's front four has played today, that's the key to stopping the run, because what happens is when you stop stuff from going up the middle, well, then the guys on the outside, the defensive ends, they can just worry about containing. They don't have to worry about doing someone else's job. So when you don't have to worry about the dive man going up the middle like they stopped having to worry about tonight, it made it easy to stop anything coming from outside. Now you don't have to worry about the quarterback keeping the ball because of the defensive end. I'm not even looking at the dive guy anymore. I'm looking at the quarterback, and that's it.
Here's Jordan Martin breaking beyond midfield, and perhaps a sign of things to come next year.
Well, he had, I think it was against either CI or Wainimi, he rushed for about 114 yards.
There's always another great running back in the line here, and John Mack will be happy about that. In at quarterback is sophomore Alex Duran, and Martin gets Oxnard to the 40-yard line, and that will be their second to last play of the evening, we surmise.
It's always nice to see the backups come in there and get some play. They work just as hard as anybody to get the starters ready. And so it's nice to see them get out there and enjoy themselves and get some carries and try to put up some numbers, man. They certainly deserve it. I was the biggest fan of the guys that would come in behind me and get yardage. They certainly had a lot of opportunities when I was in high school, but I was rooting as hard as anybody for them to go out there and do their thing.
And get their number called and have the fans cheer, and that's what Juan Ortiz did as he carries the ball to the 11-yard line. Oxnard moves on for the second year in a row. They will play either West Torrance or Redondo Union in the Western Division quarterfinals. Final score in the opening round, Oxnard 35, Oak Park 14. Gentlemen, your final thoughts?
I think Oxnard came out and did everything that they needed to do. I thought they showed balance. and really, that's what you needed to do going into the quarterfinals. Everybody knows how amazing Ray is. That goes without question. We don't have to prove that you can run the ball with him. What you need to prove to the other teams that are going to have to get ready for you is that if you put 9 in the box to try to stop my horse, I will throw the ball, and I will do it effectively, and I will hurt you doing it. So they did everything they needed to do offensively, which is show balance. Defensively, they didn't have to show much, which is great for John. Your front four handled business. I'm letting you know right now that if you try to run up the middle, it's going to be tough sledding, and you're not going to get to the outsides because my ends are going to be contained. Now, defensively, they're going to have to make sure they do their thing and throw some gimmicks in there and make plays when they need to. But I thought overall they did a nice job of showing the opponent what they can do without giving away everything that they're going to do to adjust to whatever they do next week.
How are you going to stop that big tight end Kilgore? He is, when he catches the ball, no matter where he catches it, it's going to be tough taking that guy down. He's a tremendous tight end. Hey, Oak Park, well, they played pretty close there through the first half. They had their chances to kind of get back in the game, but just couldn't quite get it when it got inside the Oxnard 40. They had some problems. They had some pretty good passing. Short passing game looked pretty good. This has been a great season for Oak Park. They finished 7-4 after being 0-10 last year, and moving up from the Tri-Valley League to that Marmani Association. I think they've really proven themselves this year that they can play.
Yeah, big things certainly ahead for the Eagles to come. Tim Kenny has really put his stamp on this program, and Oak Park celebrating a fine season. They finished at 7-4. The Oxnard Yellow Jackets, they move to 8-3, and they will play on the road in the South Bay next weekend. We'll be back live with another game from around Ventura County next Friday night as the playoffs continue. Lots of games still to be decided, though, on this Friday. Lorenzo might drive up Victoria and see if he can catch the end of the Seraphs game or something like that. That game's probably at halftime.
Sure.
But it's been a blast. Thank you guys for our entire broadcast team. Derry Eads, Lorenzo Booker, Anthony Placencia, our producer and director, braving it in the elements on the roof. My name is Danny Page. The Jackets advance. We'll see you next week. Good night.